This would be a good new moon or leading up to the new moon. I always say that dark moons are for letting go, not full moons, contrary to what pop astrologers will tell you. But this is really an energy as we come into this new moon of letting something go. And that could be letting something go that has been emotionally harming you in some way and cutting the cord so that you can start anew. Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. We're doing your new moon horoscope for your new moon in Cancer, which is happening on Friday, July 5th, 2024 at 6:57 p.m. Eastern. That is 3:57 p.m. Pacific time at 14 degrees and 23 minutes of Cancer. Now we know that the moon is at home in the sign of Cancer. This is Cancer's ruling sign, so the moon is pretty comfortable here. I also want to remind you guys that we will have 2 full moons in the sign of Capricorn. We just had a full moon in Capricorn about 2 weeks ago, and we will have another full moon in Capricorn, a blue moon in Capricorn, coming up here on the 21st of July. So that means that we do not have a full moon in Cancer this year. Now, when the moon is in Cancer, it is very much comfortable and it's at ease, and there's really a need to kind of go within and reflect. Cancer does rule the 4th house in astrology, and that is really the internal parts of ourselves. It also has to do with family, our roots, nurturing ourselves, introspection and inner work and intuition, as well as our emotions and our feelings, and kind of rest and nurturing ourselves and others. Cancer is very much a lunar or a motherly type archetype. This is the divine feminine. If you guys are familiar with the concept of the zodiac being formed from Cancer and Leo, and everything else is spread out from there. The sun and the moon, the masculine and the feminine, and everything else spreads out from there, going around the wheel of the zodiac. Now, just because the moon is at home in the sign of Cancer doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to be smooth sailing for this new moon, because we do have some other chaotic energies going on. We have Venus square Chiron. We also have Neptune and Saturn, which just stationed retrograde in the sign of Pisces, and Saturn is in trine to this new moon. So there are some difficult energies and emotions we might be feeling around this time, and this is a wonderful time to kind of go within, maybe rest, recharge, recoup, and do any inner emotional work. We're really evaluating about how we want to feel moving forward in the future. You know, Cancer is really a sign that deals with the past, and the South Node is still in Libra. So there is a tendency to really look at the past and reminisce on the past, whether that's good times or bad times. But this would be a good new moon or leading up to the new moon. I always say that dark moons are for letting go, not full moons, contrary to what pop astrologers will tell you. But this is really an energy as we come into this new moon of letting something go, and that could be letting something go that has been emotionally harming you in some way and cutting the cord so that you can start anew. And we're cultivating something that we essentially want to feel. We want to feel better, right? So it could be beneficial for you to look at past experiences and learn from those past experiences and evaluate how those experiences or relationships are certainly highlighted with this new moon, how those person, places, or things made you feel if you want to experience those emotions moving forward. If not, this would be a great time to let go, cut cords, and set new intentions for this new moon. Now, we know that a new moon is when we have an exact conjunction with the sun and the moon, this time in the sign of Cancer, in the second decan of Cancer at 14 degrees and 23 minutes. And the second decan of Cancer is ruled by Mars and or Pluto. So the traditional ruler of Scorpio would be Mars, and the modern day ruler of Scorpio would be Pluto. So this is a decan that is ruled by Scorpio, and it is also ruled by the 3 of Cups tarot card. Now, the 3 of Cups depicts 3 women dancing around in a circle. They're all holding up their chalices or their glasses of water or wine, and they're celebrating something. It is definitely an energy of family or friends, so it goes perfectly with the themes of Cancer in general, and there's some sort of celebration or cultivation, like you know something is coming to cultivation and you're celebrating the success that is to come. This is really just a card of happiness, reunions, gatherings, social events, and celebrating in some way. It's also very much an energy of creativity, and there is a lot of creative energy in the skies right now. We have Saturn and Neptune in retrograde, both in the sign of Pisces. We have Mercury in Leo now. We have this new moon in Cancer, and we still have Venus in Cancer. There's a lot of creative energy going on. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of ideas, especially with Jupiter and Gemini. Jupiter and Gemini is really giving us the ideas, and then the Leo, Pisces, and the Cancer energies are kind of the creative outlet for these ideas that we're having. So that's just something to keep in mind. But the 3 of Cups, again, is really about some sort of gathering or some sort of excess, fun, joy, happiness, celebration of some sort. Another interesting thing I just want to point out is it is a universal month 6, and 6s in numerology are very much associated with like a Venus quality or a family type energy. It's really nurturing energy. So this goes right along with the themes and the qualities of Cancer. So this new moon is making three major aspects. It is making a trine to Saturn down in Pisces at 19 degrees. It is making a square to the nodal axis, both at 10 degrees of Libra Aries, and then it is making a sextile to Mars. Now with this trine to Saturn retrograde in Pisces, this is really asking us to take some sort of emotional responsibility. And that's where this inner reflection, Cancer in the fourth house, are associated with our inner world. And it's also very emotional and sensitive energy. It's very intuitive energy as well, but there's really a need to kind of go within. Saturn retrograde is making us reflect on something and also take responsibility for something. So this could be taking responsibility for some sort of like emotional intelligence or coming to terms with your emotions in order to move forward and progress. We have to try to understand our own emotional needs as well as the emotional needs of those around us. Now, there is actually a lot of contradictory energies in regards to our emotions with the square to the nodal axis, the south node being at 10 degrees of Libra, north node being at 10 degrees of Aries. And this is really like reflecting on the past and maybe reminiscing on the past or wishing things were different from the past. You could be stirring in emotions from past relationships or past situations that you have outgrown. And there's a need to head towards the North Node, of course, as we always do, North Node in Aries, what is best for yourself and what is best for your individuality and your motivation moving forward, Aries. If we want some sort of new emotional beginning in some regard, we're going to have to look at the patterns and the qualities of past situations that are no longer serving us and are serving to our emotional detriment. And I actually really like the sextile from Mars to the new moon because this is actually helping us to take aligned and practical action. So once we have gone within to evaluate our emotional expression and our emotional needs, and we've kind of rested and nurtured ourselves, nurtured those around us, we can actually take aligned action in the 3D. Mars in Taurus is actually in its detriment position, so it doesn't technically do extremely well there, but it's kind of bringing a grounded energy, where as opposed to Mars, when it's in Aries at home, it's very aggressive, very impulsive, and does things like just without even thinking about it. When Mars is in Taurus, it's much slower, so these could be emotions that you're processing at a lot slower of a rate, but when we have a sextile to the new moon from Mars in Taurus, it's almost like you're able to take the practical steps that you know you need to take in order to let go of things once and for all. That said, we are coming up on the conjunction of Mars and Uranus, and I think they are in orb. So Uranus is at 25 and Mars is at 19. So it's a 6-degree orb. It's coming close. Mars and Uranus will conjunct in the sign of Taurus in July. So this conjunction, we will cover this in another video, but when this conjunction comes together and it's in orb now, this is going to cause a lot of chaos, to say the least. So this can add an element of doing something without thinking about it. This is very electric. I always talk about Mars and Uranus, and I've seen this happen in various charts of clients, friends, and family members that have had a conjunction of Mars and Uranus in their birth chart with one of the planets transiting their birth chart planet. It usually results in some sort of accidents, and it's because you're not really thinking about the things you're doing, you're being impulsive. So as this conjunction approaches, there could be a tendency to do things without thinking about them that could actually end up catastrophic in a lot of ways. So again, we'll cover this in a further video, but it is important to make sure your energy is grounded with Mars and Taurus so that you aren't doing something that's electrifying with the Uranian energy that's building as Mars comes closer to Uranus. Now, there's two other pretty important energies happening at the time of this new moon. We have Mercury at 5 degrees of Leo, which is opposing Pluto retrograde at 1 degree of Aquarius. Now, this is past the exact opposition, but it's still relevant because it's a 4-degree orb and it's an inner planet and an outer planet. So when we have an opposition between, first of all, when we have any sort of opposition between an inner planet or a personal planet and Pluto, there's going to be major discrepancies where there's some sort of opposing forces. When I look at oppositions, a lot of times it comes through for me, in my experience, as oppositions with other people. There's some sort of conflict or tension, or two people or two parties that don't agree on something. And this is in regards to our self-expression in the sign of Leo. Mercury in Leo really needs to authentically express itself, and there's going to be some sort of opposition to that authentic expression with the opposition to Pluto. On the other hand, Pluto does represent our fears. So there could be a fear of authentically expressing ourselves in some way. But I just got the image of the Strength card in my head, or we're going to have to muster up the courage to be able to speak what we need to speak from an authentic and heart-centered place, because Leo rules the heart and this is Mercury, so we're speaking it. It's really an energy or a fear of being misunderstood or being rejected. So there's some sort of fear of rejection or misunderstanding or being misunderstood through authentically expressing ourselves or speaking our truth. This is also verbal power struggles. So I would definitely be careful of, not twisting things around, twisting other people's words around, or using your speech and communication in order to manipulate or control people in some way. Pluto represents power and control. Mercury is our communication or our speech. It's also our mind. So this could be fears that are penetrating the mind and are affecting our sense of self or our sense of authenticity, like imposter syndrome. But if we can push through the essential fears that are being brought up with this opposition, we can ultimately cultivate some sort of revolutionary ideas for the future, Pluto in Aquarius. And you could also have like laser focus with Pluto in opposition to Mercury. We can use harsh aspects to our advantage. That's actually why they're there. If we only had easy aspects in astrology, life would be pretty boring, right? You can't have pleasure without pain. And then the Venus square Chiron. So Venus is at 22 degrees of Cancer in square to Chiron at 23 degrees of Aries. And this is an interesting one because Venus is obviously our values. It can represent our relationships, and being in the sign of Cancer, this can obviously be relationships with family members or friends. It's also our relationship with ourself, our value within ourself. It's our internal world and our emotions, our intuition, etc. So I feel like there can be some challenges, major challenges in regards to our self-work that could be a reflection of family issues or ancestral karma or, karmic patterns within the bloodline or something like that. And we're working through these things in order to heal some sort of wound within ourselves. So that could look like cutting certain family members off, not talking to certain family members, not engaging in conflict within the family dynamic, etc., etc. We really are in a time and an age that we are being asked to break generational curses, especially for my generation as the Pluto and Scorpio generation. This is where we're not accepting the pain, trauma, or karmic lessons that have been passed down from generation to generation to continue on. So there's something here that needs to be looked at in order to transcend in some way. It's likely something that has affected your sense of self, your sense of identity, your sense of willpower within yourself. And it could be something that essentially has made you feel very insecure or vulnerable, but it's really asking you to confront that. So inner work, inner shadow work, or confronting family problems or issues could be beneficial. And just to clarify, when I say confront family issues or confront karmic issues, it doesn't necessarily mean confronting another person or another party or another friend. Whatever the case is for you, you always want to look and see where the new moon or where Cancer is in your chart, which house is ruled by Cancer, for more context. But just to clarify, when I say confront an issue, that doesn't always mean confronting it outside of yourself. We are in the new moon in Cancer, so sometimes this is confronting something within yourself. Have you not been honest with yourself about things? Or, do you really need to go to outside sources to be able to heal something within yourself? No, you don't. You can heal all of that within. This is a self journey with Chiron in Aries. Other than that, guys, the only other thing I'm really going to touch on that I already did touch on briefly is Mars coming into conjunction with Uranus, which I do have it written down right here. Exact July 15th. We do have some other aspects going on. We have Venus trine Saturn. We have Venus in sextile to Mars. I'm not going to go over all the nitty gritties of these individual small aspects just because I think I covered the most prominent ones. But Mars is coming into conjunction with Uranus, will be exact July 15th. And this is stirring up a lot of restlessness in the collective. So again, as I mentioned, this is a particular aspect that I have seen with either someone's natal Mars or natal Uranus that is conjuncting either transiting Mars or transiting Uranus, sometimes can result in accidents. So I want you guys to be very careful when you're out and about, going through the matrix, going through your day, driving, whatever the case may be for you. Just be careful. Don't be stupid. Don't get into arguments with people and start petty conflicts, because this is where you can do something like impulsively and really stupid. But this is also really initiating some sort of change. So it could be a very sudden change that is coming over the collective as Mars and Uranus come into their conjunction. And there's probably a need to want to rebel or push back on some sort of structure of something. I just got the image of Saturn, the Saturn symbol in my head. So this could be in reflection to something in regards to religion or spiritual philosophies, because we have Saturn retrograde in Pisces. And I don't know, it just came to me intuitively. So, you know, we'll see how it plays out. But there is a need to stay grounded with this energy. Uranus rules the heavens and rules like thunderstorms and electricity and whatnot. We're in Taurus. Mars and Uranus are in Taurus. So we need to ground our energy in order to ground the electrifying energy of Uranus. On the bright side, we really can use this energy to break free from any restrictive patterns in some way, but this is definitely an energy of taking calculated risks, not necessarily taking impulsive risks or doing something that you haven't planned through thoroughly. You need to lay the groundwork in Taurus before you take action. So yeah, guys, that is about it for the new moon in Cancer. This is a very sensitive and intuitive time. I highly recommend you utilize rest and relaxation, nurturing yourselves and others, cook yourself a good home-cooked meal, and really find comfort within yourself. I think that there is probably going to be a high emotional intensity, and we could find ourselves triggered by family, most importantly, because we are in Cancer. But these are really things that are remnants of ancestral karma. I mean, I use that word lightly just because it's like what I focus on in my practice, but it's ancestral karmic patterns that are popping up that are likely to trigger us in some way, but we're being triggered in order to heal, essentially, because we are the generational curse breakers. So there is an energy of needing to cut emotional cords and set intentions on what we do want to feel emotionally, and there's a need to listen to our intuition. And let me know down in the comments where you have Cancer in your chart, which house is ruled by Cancer, and where 14 degrees of Cancer is in your chart, because I'd be really curious to know how this is affecting you. So let me know down below, guys. If you want to book personal tarot and or astrology readings, you can click the link in the description box below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.